Hey everybody, this is Kennedy Hawk from the MCM crew. In case you didn't know it, we're going over MTS, modular sets, villains, and heroes over the next couple weeks in the YouTube channel. And as we know, Mad Titan Shadow is all about Thanos, so you can imagine the Infinity Gauntlet is going to be one of the big modular sets. And it is. We're going to talk about that one today in Modular Monday, going through all the different cards and talking a little bit about how you play around and counteract this modular set and some of the cool features that come along with it. You can vote on the community tab on the YouTube channel for next week's modular set, which will be another one from Mad Titan Shadow, and I'd really like to get your input so I can put out the sets that people are the most interested in hearing overviews of. So, without further ado, let's talk about the Infinity Gauntlet. We can see right here, card 1 of 7 is the Infinity Gauntlet itself, with the artifact and weapon keyword with permanent and setup. That means this is starting in play attached to the villain, and it is not going away. It gives the villain +1 attack and +1 scheme. Don't forget this. I often do, and that means I have to redo my games, which is no fun. So instead, remember that this is going to pump up the villain. So if you play with this on Rhino, Rhino's going to start with 2 scheme. That makes Rhino a lot harder in solo. You can no longer flip like at all without fear of everything going horribly. It has a forced interrupt. After the attached villain activates, resolve the special ability on each Infinity Stone in play. Otherwise, put the top card of the Infinity Stone deck into play. So let's get more into this modular set and talk about those Infinity Stones. So first, this is a 7-card modular set. It works like no other set. It does not get shuffled into the encounter deck. Instead, the Infinity Gauntlet starts in play, it doesn't go away, and you start with a 6-card Infinity Stone deck, which is going to be the 6 Infinity Stones shuffled into a deck, set to the side, sort of the villain. This is not the encounter deck. You're not revealing cards from this deck. You're doing something different with them. And what that's going to be is after the villain activates, so the villain completes its activation, you resolve the special ability on all the stones that are in play, and all of those special abilities include discarding the stone to the Infinity Stone deck discard pile. That's a tongue twister. And then you just move on. But if no special effects were resolved, because there were none, then you would instead put the top card of the Infinity Stone deck into play. So you're not revealing it. You can't do anything with like when an encounter card is revealed shenanigans. They are environments, so if something interacts with environments, it might in the future. But for now, they come into play and you have to deal with them. This really in solo gives you this like ebb and flow feel where like for one turn the villain doesn't have this bonus from Infinity Stone and you can kind of make progress at the villain, and then the next turn they have this stone and you have to deal with them and you really have to tank up for a turn. And in multiplayer it kind of alternates with players. You can imagine with 4 players, Rhino attacks the first villain with no stone, the second villain gets attacked with a stone, the third hero, I keep saying villain, gets attacked with no stone and spawns one, and then the fourth one gets attacked with a stone. So it's going to alternate back and forth. You're going to deplete this Infinity Stone deck a lot more rapidly in multiplayer. There's no penalty for that in the Infinity Gauntlet set itself. It might become more annoying and more penalizing with some of the villains this set was designed for, but that's a topic for a future day. So basically, it's given the villain +1/+1, and every other activation they're going to pop out a stone or resolve a stone, ignoring outside factors that might make more stones come out from specific villains. So let's look at the stones. These are the stars of the set. We've got the time and space stone, and these are really the stones that help progress the villain, in my opinion. They're big threats. So the time stone says special, discard the top 4 cards of your deck and place 1 threat on the main scheme for each different card type discarded this way. Place this card on the Infinity Stone deck discard pile. So that's pretty crazy. If the villain schemes, even if they only scheme for 1, you have the chance of placing 4 more threat after that activation. So when a time stone is out there, you really have to worry about threat. You'll notice there's boost icons here. Those don't matter at all for just the Infinity Stone deck. But again, some of those villains are going to interact with how many boost icons are on the current stone and stuff like that. So time stone. Space stone. Discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until a minion is discarded. Put that minion into play engaged with you. Place this card in the discard pile. So this can be really annoying too, because if the villain activates and then they pop out a minion, that minion gets to activate too if it's the villain's original activation, or if it's during a gang up or something like that. So you have to be really careful with when this stone is out there to make sure you're prepared for whatever minion's going to come out, and especially if you're an alter ego, that you're prepared for whatever threat that minion might place. This one matters less when the villain deck is really thin and you think you have all the minions out of the way, or if you have something that can stun the minion as it enters play and things like that. 2 more stones. We've got the Soul Stone. Heal 3 damage from the villain. Not a big deal. And give it a face down boost card. Alert! This is a big deal. especially in multiplayer. If the villain is attacking you and then gets a second boost card for the second player who's in alter ego form, that's a problem. So you need to be thinking about who's getting the activation with this secondary boost card and pumping that player up, because otherwise it can really lead to like this snowballing effect. You can imagine if player 1 had the thing that popped out an extra minion and they were in alter ego, so the villain schemed, and then player 2 was in hero form and popped out a soul stone at the end of their activation, and the third player was also in alter ego form, all of a sudden you have 3 boost cards of scheme, 2 villain activations of scheme, and a minion activation of scheme, and you're probably leaving scheme 1B. So be really careful with that extra boost card. Reality Stone. Discard an ally, upgrade, or support you control. So this one's not a big deal. I'll give you some tips on beating it later, but basically discard the thing that disrupts your play state the least, and include lots of things that can help you with that. Alright, we've got the Power Stone. This is not Galaxy's Most Wanted Power Stone. It's a different one. Special, you are stunned. If you are already stunned, take 3 damage. Place this card in the discard pile. So this can be annoying because it hits your tempo and it kind of controls you. It can be really annoying if you're stunned because your identity is taking 3 damage. So you're taking 3 damage in alter ego form, which can lead to a lot of snipings. So be really careful. This goes off even when the villain's scheming. It's not like an attack-only thing or anything like that. So you can take damage in alter ego form when the villain is scheming with the Power Stone out there. So you have to be very, very careful with how low you would let your health get. Mind Stone, you are confused. If you are already confused, discard 1 card at random from your hand. Again, not like... It's a controlling thing. They're stopping you from doing something that you want to do, so that you have to clear that. Discarding 1 card at random from your hand can really ruin your day. We've seen that with Vultures, with Spider-Man's Nemesis set Vulture. Discarding at random is really painful, so you really need to make sure you clear these statuses as quick as possible. So as a mod overview, you can combine this with any villain. You can put it on Crossbones, you can put it on Ultron, you can put it on Ronin if you want. I don't recommend it, but you could. And it's really going to change whatever villain you work with. So if you play a villain like Rhino and it says include 1 modular set and you use Infinity Gauntlet as your modular set, I would warn you, this is going to thin Rhino's deck. It's going to make Rhino's encounter deck feel more like Rhino because it's going to be a ton of Rhino and standard cards, but it's also going to make him see really powerful cards really often. So you might consider including still the recommended modular set and the Infinity Gauntlet module, because it's not going to thicken that deck. It's still going to boost them and like set all those cards aside. This combo is super well with Weapon Master. You can thank me later, but it is super annoying to play any character with Weapon Master with the Infinity Gauntlet because there's a permanent weapon in play. So both copies of Weapon Master now turn into the villain activates and this card gains Surge. It's obnoxious, but it's super fun too. So I definitely recommend trying it out with Weapon Master, maybe on standard mode to start with, and see how it goes. But it can be really, really, really fun. As far as canceling and countering this set, this is just a giant wall of text. I apologize. It's been a long morning. There's no really good way to cancel the Infinity Stones, right? When they come into play, they're not being revealed. They're being put into play. There's no canceling card that cancels them right now. The only thing you can really do is apply Stun and Confuse to the villain. Because if the villain is stunned or confused, they are not activating, which means they're not popping out stones and they're not activating stones. That's just about your only thing you can do. So the best thing you can do is mitigate those effects. When you see what stone's out there, especially in solo, you usually can wait until the next turn before it hurts you. So you have this like little bit of forward information. So if you see the time stone is there, you need to maximize threat removal on your turn and play cards like Counterintelligence or stack your deck building knowing I'm going to have a time stone hit me. So I'm going to include 25 events in my deck. That way it minimizes how much the time stone could hit me. Maybe you don't go that crazy. But think about things like that and think about how the time stone could affect you. Space Stone, and probably same for the Soul Stone. You should probably just stay in hero form when these stones are out. With the Space Stone, it's going to bring a minion out. Remember, that minion is going to activate. So if they place threat, that's an unknown extra amount of threat. It's basically like 2 boost cards, but one that stays in play. It can be snowballing. Same with the Soul Stone. Once he gets that extra boost card, you do not want that to be on a scheme activation. It can devastate you. Reality Stone. You want to seed your deck with cheap upgrades. So think of like the Honorary Avenger and Honorary Guardian cards. Those are cards you don't mind discarding when this card comes up, and it's almost like a sigh of relief when you're going through the villain's activations. So I definitely recommend some cheap upgrades or supports that you don't mind discarding. Or if you have an ally that has 1 hit point left and you've already taken your activation for the turn, you can probably discard that. Power and Mind Stones, you need to clear those statuses. Always clear Stunned, always clear Confused. Nothing is more annoying than, like, the stunned stone entering the discard pile, getting shuffled back in, and then becoming the next card that comes up because you will be super annoyed that you have not cleared stunned already. Now, technically, that's a little bit impossible because when the sixth stone comes out, the deck gets shuffled with 5 cards left in it. But if this is your 5th card and then it gets shuffled and there's an advance or an assault, then the villain all of a sudden gets multiple uses of stones in one turn. They don't use the same stone twice, but they use one stone and spawn one in the same turn. And you can easily get into situations where you see the power in Mind Stone before you've cleared that status condition, and it can be really annoying. So the Gauntlet is really daunting, even on its own, let alone the villains that are specifically designed to interact with it, which is a future topic. But I definitely recommend, once you've played through the MTS campaign, first thing you do, you get that box out, take your favorite hero, whoever it is, because every hero can play this campaign, and play through the campaign. You're going to love it. And then take that Infinity Gauntlet and take your favorite villain and go play against them, because it completely changes the way they play and gives this extra boost to the villain, which can be really fun in a game of Marvel Champions. So that's it for today's Modular Monday. Hope you are having a pleasant start to your week, and I will see everybody tomorrow for a Tier List Tuesday.